Hello and welcome to Social Listening here on the BDTV Breakfast Show. This is where we break down some of the stories making the rounds across social media. Of course, my name is Elizabeth Musa.
And I'm Onyeka Valentine.
Alrighty, today's Friday. Let's get into the conversations. President Bola Tinubu has urged the National Assembly to authorize an extra $347 million loan as part of the 2025 to 2026 borrowing program. According to a letter presented by the Speaker of the House, $47 million is allocated to the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway development, which is now risen in cost from $700 million to $747 million. Now, the remaining $300 million is for the Nigerian Universal Communications Access Scheme, and Tinubu stated it was mistakenly omitted from the original loan proposal. Well, that's the story this morning from social media. I don't know your thoughts on this conversation, but let's also see some of the tweets.
Okay, so before the tweet gets to show up, I think, so it's a good thing that the money has been designed to be channeled into proper, things. Like the listed ones, they are great. The channeling, fantastic. But again, it says loan. Whenever I hear that word loan, it feels as if there's a big shackle holding our throat not to allow us to breathe. And in the words of our president, let the poor breathe. I begin to wonder, isn't this going to hold us in a way that we cannot breathe?
Well, are we the poor?
Well, again, per capita,
About that.
right? Per capita, if you look at it, if you're a rich man in Nigeria, you probably are a poor man in a country that is hitting us 1,500 naira per dollar, right? So if you look at it per capita and then GDP wise, a very rich man here is someone who's just an average person in the US. You can't be richer than the GDP. So if you look at it in real essence, right? If the poor must breathe, can't we look inwards and see our internally generated funds and institutions that bring in money begin to mop up cash from those areas? Look, I always say this thing: once you make your gate strong, you will make money. In other words, if your institutions are powerful, they are run by people who understand the idea of integrity, run by people who understand the whole structure of due process. I bet you those monies that are escaping, I call them monies with the S, that are escaping and we don't know where they're going to, either being swallowed by one python or swallowed by, how the story goes, swallowed by something, I will tell you, or maybe...
You just have to bring up this python thing.
So all those monies that are escaping back and forth will be held, in the right place. I mean, channeled properly. I will make a lot of money. Those monies will be realized from LIRS, like Lagos State, and then FIRS. Take that whole cash, put it together, and run this thing one run. Whenever I hear we're going to borrow, it feels as if my heart skips a beat.
And it's even look at how much we want to borrow. Extra $347 million.
And it says extra. In other words,
that means we've already borrowed.
Initial one. So statistics show that this year alone, that more than 30-something countries in Africa are using their natural resources and internally generated funds to service the interest on loans, not the loan itself. What does that tell you? It tells you that, for what it's worth, that the people giving out this money, to them, they can print paper as much as they want, which is why BRICS is not finding it very funny. BRICS, they want to make sure the dollar is no longer, that's their primary aim, no longer the world reserve currency. And if they succeed, that'll be a huge blow to the American economy.
Yeah, it will be.
Which is why the World Bank and the IMF are working in cahoots to make sure that they are always ready to give us money. So if I was the chief marketer of the country, CNC, Commander-in-Chief, our wonderful president, President Bola Tinubu, if I were in your shoes, I would think twice before I go a borrowing. before I go and ask, I move cap in hand and ask for money, I will ask myself a question. What would be the ripple effect
of this?
If I was in his shoes and my own cousin was stealing money, I would jail him. I would jail people who were around me if they steal money, so that would be a deterrent for people who are not even close to me. So when I say, wait, this man is jailing people who are stealing money. What happens to us that are not close to him? With that now, I will strengthen my institutions. I will strengthen all those loopholes where cash escape from. We're making so much money from our papa pots. We're making so much money from natural resources. We're making so much money from all these areas. Why are we still borrowing money?
What do you even think? You see, as part of the borrowing, it says $47 million is allocated to Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, which has now risen in cost from $700 million to $747 million. Because obviously they're allocating $47 million. Do you think that amount is
correct?
Not correct. Do you think that's like? Do you think that's too much money, or do you think it's sufficient?
So in running the country, one can never say it is too much money. However, in running the country, it is important to say the money, is it being used for the right thing? And if invested, because any normal businessman wants to invest money and see that the money gives proper, ROI, return on investment. If this money is put into those sectors, let them tell us. Okay, it's been put into the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. Let them tell us. In the next 10 years, or maybe they are saying so and we're not seeing it. In the next 10 years, this road is set to generate this amount of money. So that now in our own lifetime, we'll be able to say, okay, for what it's worth, he said it and they did it. They put their money where their mouth is. There's one thing investing and borrowing money. Again, I use the word borrowing, such a very painful word, but borrowing money, put into all this infrastructure. Let it work. I mean, I don't know about any other Nigerian out there, but the fact that we could hear Dangote say that our own Nigerians refinery might not work again. Do you know how painful that is?
That's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
I don't want to believe it.
See the amount of money that has been spent to try to rejuvenate. We put that refinery with gas masks to make sure you breathe air and survive. It has been on life support back and forth. So it is now clear to Nigerians that that refinery is deliberately being sabotaged.
But talking about this $347 million, I find it ridiculous that such a huge chunk of money will be mistakenly omitted, because that's what the president said.
I didn't even see that part.
Yes, it says that it was mistakenly omitted from the original loan proposal. So they mistakenly omitted $347 million request, and also the fact that the $347 million out of it, $47 million out of it is dedicated to the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. $300 million out of it is dedicated to the Nigerian Universal Communication Access Scheme. Firstly, I'm even confused. What's this Nigerian Universal Communication Access Scheme? What's it all about?
In the game of archery, right? It is said that you have two different circles. You have the bullseye, you have around it. Then you have outside it, for those people who understand the game of archery. So when you are shortlisted to be part of that game, it's assumed that you're not a rookie, right? It's assumed that you are a professional. And so when you draw back the bow and you let loose the arrow, if it hits outside the circle of professionalism, we'll ask questions. How can you tell me, with all the advisors our commander-in-chief has around him, right? You let me understand that someone just omitted that thing out of what? Human error. It's not possible. So these are professionals that are supposed to hit the bullseye. Even if it misses the bullseye, at least let it be in the other outer circles, not outside the whole target. So in saying that amount of money was omitted, which means the whoever is the archer didn't even go for that competition. Meaning to say that whoever is the professional doesn't even know what he or she is doing.
But let's see some of the reactions on social media to this story. Because
so it puts us in a gray area now. We're not in a gray area.
Yes.
Okay, President puts you in a gray area.
It's a whole lot.
It's
a whole lot. When they talk about 47 million committed to the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, understandable. But 300 million to the Nigerian Universal Communication Access Scheme. I'm just confused. I'm wondering what that even means. Maybe I need to after this show, go and really see what they intend to do with the Nigerian Universal Communications Access Scheme. Because it's one thing to just mention some bogus terms, and I need to understand what it is, but, well, let me look at the reactions because I'm already getting very passionate. Humanity Made King says, this is how nations walk straight into debt traps.
That's it.
Debt traps. With declining revenue, low production, and weak currency, borrowing recklessly for non-urgent projects will cripple Nigeria's economy even more.
He didn't speak out of context.
Suleiman says, if removing the fuel subsidy does not stop borrowing at a lower level, then it should be returned or used in a way that benefits the common people. More reactions.
Most definitely.
More reactions to this story on social media. Engineer MJ Gold says, the idea of borrowing to fix or deliver padded budgets should be of great concern to all Nigerians because our generation yet unborn will pay the price of corruption. Atubuike says, sir, I think with due respect, you are not being fair to Nigeria and Nigerians. Where are the money saved from subsidy removal, custom revenue, taxes collected, NNPC profit, etc.? Does it mean that all these agencies are lying? Where's our money, Mr. President? That person is asking so many questions, but really, there's so many questions to be asked. There are really so many questions.
Well, you know, like Mr. President said the other day, he said, no matter what I do,
they will talk.
They will talk. That's why he doesn't read social media, because it says that they are abusing and they abuse it and they abuse him. So uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Absolutely. This has always been the story in leadership from time immemorial. Right? But the question now is, when you know that they will talk about it, they will say things, at least meet them halfway. I know that every day the idea of debt, the idea of debt, borrowing, keeps him awake every night. I don't see how he's going to have peaceful sleep thinking, my Nigeria's going to owe money. They're going to owe money. Because normally if I'm owing rent, for instance, trust me, even if you give me a sleeping pill, I'm going to sleep half the hour. Because I'm thinking, balance, I have to get up next morning. You have to make sure you meet up. The year's about to round up to go pay your house rent. And if you live in a choice place, how are you going to have good rest? So if you look at now on a far more broader scale, those who are Mr. President's advisors, those who are running financial breakdown for him to see, should be able to say, look, Augusta, the ones we borrowed, we haven't paid. But even though at some point in time we said we are paid, Nigerians have begun to we ask questions. I thought you said that we paid off our loans. All of a sudden we're going to borrow again. And now the question is where the money is going to go to. I from what he listed, I didn't even see healthcare there. Did you see healthcare?
No, just two things. It's basically the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and the Nigerian Universal Communication Access.
Should I say that as it is?
Say.
Why is it that people out there, not me now, people out there believe that the Calabar Coastal Road could just be a funnel for money to go down the drain? Why do they think that way? The messages are pouring in. They think it's a funnel, right? I just pour and the money just goes down. Because if you look at it, if you tell me, right, I tell Nigerians that we're going to borrow money to make sure we equipped our Nigerian military to fight insurgents, I will tell you, go and borrow as much as you can. Do you know why? Because when you have a safe nation, guess what? Investors will come in. Those investors will bring in business opportunities, which return will generate funds for the nation. We use those money that we generate from those businesses to do what? To service our debt. You realize that there is a structure that will have this money being paid back. Not necessarily we're using our natural resources, oil for money. They are giving us paper. We're giving them oil, gold. These are irreplaceable things. Paper they can print again. And so I'm just one way or the other wondering, God must really love this nation so much.
God loves us actually.
After these years of putting out crude oil from the ground, we don't have earthquakes yet. Think about it.
God loves us. We
have
that blessing of not being, not having this natural disasters.
So the issue of borrowing for some certain projects, it must be a do or die project that if we don't do this thing, we are crushing. But from what is listed out, do you think it's a matter of life and death?
I don't think so as well. I don't think so. But let's move on now to another really sad story where there's been mourning at the University of Uyo State.
Right.
Uyo State, following the passing of, I said Uyo State, at the University of Uyo, following the passing of Prince Josiah, a 100-level petroleum engineering student. He collapsed during a football game on campus and was rushed to Anwar General Hospital, but reports allege that the doctor on scene refused to treat him. He was subsequently moved to Premier Hospital, but unfortunately was confirmed dead on arrival. His colleagues from his department, along with other students and lecturers, have expressed their shock and sadness. Many are angry that his death could have been avoided if proper emergency health care was in place. Let's see some of the reactions on social media. But really, I don't know what you think, Valentine. Is it ever okay for a doctor to refuse treatment, no matter the reason? And really, what steps can be taken to prevent cases like this from happening again?
So first and foremost, I think it's absurd in our 21st century, matter of fact, 2025 that we're in, that there will be an emergency and then you move into a building that is meant to be open 24 hours and it's called the healthcare center. And you turn the person around. Matter of fact, I think there should be a jail term attached to it. Because if that person could have survived, you've only made his chance of survival slimmer than none. So you should be jailed.
But these things, do they only happen in Nigeria? I need to know if abroad is also applicable.
So abroad, right, what I know that is applicable from what we've heard is that once there's an emergency, you take in the person. While you're treating the person, you process the person to know if the person is a criminal or this person was, this so-called gunshot wasn't necessarily, it was either the person got involved in some criminal activity. While the person is being treated, it is there in the hospital that police now come and they will handcuff the person to the bed. But the reverse is the case in this country. There's a serious issue, you go to hospital, they tell you, go and get police reports. I've seen this thing a couple of times, like 2-3 times, in a government hospital. I'm tempted to mention
before you even get a police report,
the person will have died.
Some person has passed.
So if you see that, and then when they say let Nigeria don't happen to you, these are the issues. Weak institutions were slow to take action. I'm almost tempted to say that, Nigeria was better off in a different dispensation, but I don't want to sound like someone who they will now say is a treasonable, talk. But let's call a spade, right? Once you say, no matter what, if a person is rushed to the hospital, treat him as such. Don't even ask about whether he's registered in the hospital or whether he has money to pay. Begin treatment first. That initial 24 hours can change things. I have walked into a hospital before when my mom was alive, she was in peace now. And then while she was being attended to, they brought in somebody, right? Emergency. The woman, the mother of the child that they brought in, the child was there. A bike accident thing. The mother didn't have money. I had some small change. They were asking, okay, look, she's not registered in the hospital. But I said, I couldn't understand that whole idea. I was like, what are you talking about? This little boy is about to pass on. Yes, they asking for what? And I asked him, what do you need? Sir, they need to register. I said, treat this child first. Everyone kept on screaming, treat the child first. And guess what? At the end of the day, the child already have had some issues based on epilepsy and everything. Treat the child. So let's assume none of us were there to pressure the nurse or pressure whoever it is that is the doctor on duty. That child could have died like that. So I think the attitude around that thing needs to change. Although, truth be told, some private hospitals, because it is private, we want to jump on the case so that they don't get a bad name. But we get all this terrible news about doctors not responding on time or patients or people dying when they go for emergencies in some government hospitals. So which means it is no longer the issue of the individual, it's the issue of who is managing that place. Why is it that the government hospitals always lack efficiency? Why is this so? Let's make it a point of contact. No lawmaker or any politician who is active in Nigeria with a Nigerian passport should be allowed to travel abroad for medical treatment.
Yeah, we've tried to make the.
Let's see and see whether it's not work.
On Big Story,
look at this,
where we
young
talked
boy
about
now.
Medical tourism and if there should be some sort of limitation. And I know that I had the director of the medical guild rather. Right. He joined in from Abuja and he did say yes, there should be limitations really, because cases like I don't know how it ties to cases like this. That's a completely different conversation in itself. But this one we're talking about, it's just a case of empathy because someone is on the brink of death, and then you're asking for, you say you can't treat them. I understand that, yeah, they would say that the hospitals also need to run. They run on these monies, but how about you take care of the child and then keep them while they are able to find the money? That should be the ideal thing. But just losing lives because, oh, get a police report, get XYZ, get that, and someone is literally dying. How if it were your family member, if it were your friend,
there'll be a different approach.
Will that be the same thing? But let's see some of the reactions on social media very quickly and see how people are reacting to this. This one said, this poor student is dead because of our decrepit health system. Ideally, an ambulance should have been called. The ambulance would put him on a heart monitor. The monitor would have likely helped detect a dangerous heart rhythm. The paramedics would have shocked his heart back into a normal rhythm, and he would have been home in a few days after a short stint in the cardiology ward. You knew your students should get together and create an emergency system like this for the future, so nobody else has to die. Call it the Josiah emergency system so we retain memory of this unfortunate incident. Let's see if we have more reactions to this conversation on social media. This person just says, may soul rest in peace. Another painful and completely avoidable death. I agree. It's really sad to see a promising life cut short just like this. Odogu Naga says, what's this thing and doctors rejecting patients? Look, those are the questions that we're asking today. It's unfortunate.
There's this thing they say.
Unfortunate. This one says, Nigerian health sector failed in. I completely agree. It's really unfortunate.
There are some professions that are so sacred that should have no business with politics being involved in it, or what we call the animal farm thing. Some animals are more equal than the other. Some sectors are too sacred for that. Sectors like the health sector should not be. Look, the idea of corruption or incomplete study should not even come in, because that is the sector that keeps the great brains and the future presidents and great leaders of this nation. That's the sector that caters for their well-being. Look at this young boy now. Are you saying that we are better than him? Or what does it take from this now? It just goes to show you that, and this is on social media. So whoever is traveling from different country and you're the first time you come to Nigeria, so you now say, you know what? Before I visit Nigeria, let me call my own doctor in case. Let me call my own nurse just in case. However, now this has happened. Let us see how the government will react to this. I hope it becomes a big story. So such a way that if they're not talking about doctors' salary increase and all that, they will see reason why. Because let's be honest, I'm not making a case for the doctor, but let's look at it in this real sense. If a doctor is well paid, if the nurses are well paid, why wouldn't they focus on their job? Why wouldn't they do it with passion? Although I cannot excuse, that level of laxity because they're not being paid well. I've seen people who are actually doing housemanship, they're not being paid money, but the passion for the job is 110%. You can't take it away from them. However, this kind of issue has been happening. It just so happened that this is the one that made it to the light. How many Nigerians have passed on? How many Nigerians have gone to their permanent site, which is called the grave site, because of 5 or 10 minutes negligence from the doctor or the nurse? Whichever it is, it's always making me want to just bite my tongue when I think about it and say, look, we can do better than this.
Right.
It's so rest in peace. I won't say little boy, but young man whose life was cut short.
Young, promising life just cut short. Talent, ambition,
he could have been
all dead.
Who knows whether he could have been the next
president or the next governor of Uyo, of Akwa Ibom. I keep saying Uyo. It's quite unfortunate, really. But that's why we'll have to wrap things up today on the social listening segment. Unfortunately, quite on a sad note, but rest in peace to the young man, the young promising life who happened to be cut short just because of the health sector that failed him, and also condolences to his family members, his friends, his colleagues, his classmates and also even his lecturers, they will definitely be missing their own person. But we really extend our heartfelt condolences this morning. Definitely. But that's where we have to close the curtains here on the social listening segment until next Monday, same time, same station. My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And I'm Onyeka Valentine.
See you on Monday.